Thank you everyone for being here today. I hope you are enjoying this wonderful city of Madrid, in this amazing country, Spain. Yes, I'm not very objective, but anyway.
Where are you from?
Spain. No. On a serious note, we are going to speak here about piracy. Piracy is really serious, not because it's affecting the pay TV industry, but because it's affecting the TV industry as a whole. If we don't pay for content, content will never be produced again. So it is in fact quite serious. In some countries, the governments, the regulatory bodies are not even protecting or fighting against this. Many viewers in many countries think piracy is not a crime. Why it's bad to download something illegally or watch something once in a while? Technology is here. There are lots of technology to protect content. But are we doing enough? What is the problem with piracy? Are you here in this audience investing in technologies to protect your content? This is the goal of the panel. Not to tell you all piracy is bad, I think we know, is next year solutions probably have been in place and piracy will go down. That's what we hope. Feel free to ask questions to these panelists. You don't need to wait till the end. So I will have here questions as soon as something is coming. So interrupt me as many times as you want. And let's start with data, numbers. We heard a lot about being. Everyone knows they're being affected for piracy, so I'm not going to focus a lot on this. But they claim they lost 45% of the subscribers because of piracy. And they lost a lot of money because of that. Any of you here, do we have any other data to quantify piracy? Abigail, you work for Sky. Any data to tell us how many subscribers Sky is losing because of piracy?
So I think it's really hard to quantify exactly what we as an industry are losing to piracy. But we do track sort of piracy trends and we understand what kind of levels of piracy we think we see in main markets. And that can be between anything from 25% to 40% of consumers pirating. I think one of the really scary numbers, though, is that around 10% of consumers today are paying to access pirated content. That means that they're creating OTT services in the same way that we are, and that they are aggregating them and they're providing a good user experience and it's working well for consumers, it's easy, everything's there, and they are now paying, they're parting with their money and going to pirate services. So that's a huge issue.
That's very interesting. 10% of people pay something to a company, but it's illegal content. Do they know they're paying for illegal, or they just think this is a very attractive offer? Do they know it's pirate content?
I think that people will use certain elements to make it feel okay to pay. So you're using your credit card, you're paying with PayPal, you're using legitimate sort of services from that point of view. Maybe you've gone online and you've typed in and you've searched using a search engine, so you feel like it's coming up. These are all sort of cues that consumers will use to say, well, they've got a good website, they're saying all the right things. But at the end of the day, I think if you know in your market that you're not using a service that you've heard of before that advertises, that is legitimate, that you deep down, you know that you are paying an illegal service, but it's there and other people are doing it, so there's a social element as well.
Do we agree that about what she's saying?
First of all, I completely agree. It's very difficult to quantify these numbers. And on the other hand, the question is whether this number is really or what is the most interesting part about those numbers. And I would say 30, 20 or 30% perhaps using digital piracy. What is the interesting ratio behind it? There's not 30 or 40% which are interested in doing something illegal, but interested in consuming content. So in our case, interested in watching Bundesliga content. And if you hear that there's 10% even willing to pay, that is potential consumers for us and our broadcasting partners. So that's why we do not focus too much on this number, but rather on the number, how many and who are the offerings, the illegal ones, and then to drive the people being interested in the Bundesliga content back to legal offers.
Just to compare countries and cultures to see if there are very differences. In the UK, people have a reputation of being very honest. What is the percentage of people watching illegal content? Can you share that figure with us?
I think it's around 37%.
37% of people in the UK.
But that's people
That's
who
a high
are
number. I'm
admitting.
surprised.
That's admitting in a survey, right?
Yeah,
So
it can be very
as we communicate more with consumers and we tell them that it's illegal, we'll see fewer people telling us that they're actually doing these kinds of things now. So,
Holger, in Germany, is more or less than 37?
I don't have the comparable figure, but that's
think
what
Abigail
I said.
probably
So
has it.
we are doing together like market research with Sky in Deutschland as well. So we come to whatever 2 million regular users of illegal content, and then if you scale it up with other content, probably you end up with 20 something.
So well below 20, 25 in Germany.
but the 10% payment figure is the same.
The 10% is the same, people willing to pay lower prices. You are working in technology trying to protect content, so you are willing of people, and everyone wants a collaboration, content producers, broadcasters, content owners, regulators, everyone working together to protect that content. Sports rights are very expensive, they go to the roof. In terms of percentage, how much companies are spending protecting that content? What is that percentage? And is it going up? Is it going down? Are companies spending more or less to protect that content? Who knows about that?
I would say the say is in the broadcast industry, the value of the security business is about 1% of revenue of the operators. And that's sort of the ballpark.
1% of the revenues?
From the growth of pay TV, that's sort of where the industry landed up. That amount of money is now declining because usage is shifting from broadcast to OTT. And I would say, for a fact, the percentage of expenditure related to security against the revenue and value of the rights has been going down, which a lot of it is due to increase in the rights itself, so that drives the percentage down, and also the fact that on OTT, the actual spend to protect the content is minimum. We believe that going forward, a lot more money will need to be invested to actually cure the problem.
So are you saying is for streaming services to protect their content is cheaper than for a company like Sky to protect that content?
Yeah, if you roll back the clock to the early days of pay TV in the mid-90s, pay TV found themselves naked against piracy. Operators have invested hundreds of millions of dollars to solve the problem. Companies like Sky replaced smart cards, replaced set-top boxes. Canal Plus did the same. The whole industry mobilized in order to re-secure the broadcast distribution, and successfully did so. Now, the content is still leaking because of HDMI, because of OTT services, and if you compare that to the amount of spend on the OTT, some people will say, yeah, OTT security is free. I can get free DRM. Well, guess what? Free DRM gives you the security of a free DRM. And then you take the end-to-end security, the level of expenditure is a fraction of what you're spending on broadcast. And in order to solve the problem, there is no doubt that investments are going to increase. So I'm glad to see Abigail nodding as Sky is the key player there.
Yeah, Young Mark is sending a message here to streaming sports services. Please protect your content a bit better. Looks like there are some issues, so protect it more. Speak to him maybe or to other companies. What do you think, Simon?
I would add as well, though, it's just because of the nature of OTT and where OTT is right now. OTT is still relatively nascent. It's a fairly young space. It's maturing at 1,000 miles an hour, but there is prioritization going on amongst a lot of these young platforms around performance, around stability, around video quality, reliability, low latency, and unfortunately, these are the headline projects. And piracy, anti-piracy, is viewed as potentially next year's project, and it's still next year's project. And DRM, delivery security, that's got to come first before you start worrying about restreaming. But even that is still, for some operations, it's next year's project. We've got to get the picture quality right. We've got to stop the service falling over. We've got to stop the back end falling over. I'm sure OTT will get there, but our message would be, we've got to start focusing on it now because you may not have the opportunity to get there.
Okay, so start investing as soon as possible. Next year, the number will be more than 1%. Holger, I'm going to put you in the spotlight for one thing. Comment on that, and then we'll ask you a question.
Just very shortly, because I see the specific situation in OTT and in different broadcasting environments. But just to say, I don't think it's like a fence situation here and there, because it's a very complex phenomena and it all works together with each other. And I don't think it's really a field of competition between OTT and broadcasters, especially not in anti-piracy. So I think the whole approach should be collaboration there. And I see the OTT companies who work together with us catching up there. That's my message to be sent there, and not just to focus to say, okay, these ones are doing this and these ones are doing that one, but we have to work together, because the whole industry is suffering from piracy, and the whole industry would benefit if we are more
And I would
successful.
add, I think ISPs will tell you that on their network, because they know what's going through their network, 15 to 25% of the traffic is streaming of something. Okay,
So
most of it,
15
to 25% of the traffic is streaming of something of illegal nature. So think about it. You're an OTT service provider. You're delivering through streaming, and a quarter of the ISP's traffic is illegal streams.
So if
that's
they know
where their
it's
profit
illegal,
is going.
But if they know it's illegal, then are we blaming regulators for not putting a fine to these companies that they know they are broadcasting or they're allowing people to consume illegal content? If they know the content is illegal?
There's a lot around net neutrality and what you can and can't do. I think depends on the territory and what kind of laws are in place. But yes, there are legal opportunities to explore in different markets, and you can see what they have that they can use today. There's also a lot of lobbying that goes on, again, at industry level, working together with industry partners to try and lobby with regulation in terms of what does the government say you should and shouldn't do, but also just legally. So in the UK, we've had some success with the rights holder around blocking, which means, yes, as an ISP you can, but there are other complications around that. Not every market is as clear in terms of these are the top ISPs, and if they all blocked, then the traffic would be blocked. It can be fragmented. So there's different challenges in different markets, and there are legal opportunities in some, and there's more to do in others. But that's another avenue that you can explore.
Because even in the UK, you protect content. If in another country in the world that content is free, same problem. There is a good question here from the audience about younger generations. Are we blaming, or do we think the pirates are the young people, or pirates can be anyone, 50, 60, 70-year-olds? Who are the pirates? Are the younger generations? Is everyone? And what can we do to attract people to pay? The young and the old, and the people in the middle. Who wants to start? Do we think first is the younger generations, the ones that they pirate?
No, not necessarily. Piracy is across very different age groups. Younger generations, I think, get a lot of slack because they are on social media a lot, but companies are showing that they can deliver content in short form and attract consumers that way. They just need to be able to adapt and be flexible and try and attract those consumers. But if you think about a pay TV service, that's a sort of traditional service, then actually what you're doing is you're bringing an older market into piracy, right? Because if they can have the same experience and they've got a device in their house and they have a remote control and they can find things easily, then actually what you're doing is you're appealing to an older demographic who are used to paying, and so they are happy to pay, but just pay less. So actually, this is an issue across all generations, not just younger generations.
I think the first question from Anonymous is a good one as well. Are people not investing a lot in anti-piracy because it's seen as a cost rather than realizing, in fact, this can generate a lot of profit, more than marketing campaigns and other things? Do companies still see this as a high cost? Holger, are you investing a lot to protect your content?
Was a question whether we are investing a lot or enough.
From 0 till 10, where would you say you are now protecting content, making sure nobody steals anything from the German football league?
Okay, with a 10, that would mean there's nothing more to do.
Then nobody
Probably
can touch it because it's so secure.
And
0 means you are not doing much.
No, and we were doing quite a lot, like in the different fields, social media, web live, IP code, etc. So I would say we had been at a 7, and now I think we are now approaching the 9 because we have this, and that is one of the things. I mean,
fantastic secure content from the Germans here.
We founded but that's the reasoning behind founding the joint venture with Atletia Rights about what I was saying about cooperating, offering a platform where we can use all the data about like all the complex phenomenon of piracy and have like real-time technical solutions or real-time legal enforcement situations, and learning a lot about the whole complex of piracy there. And therefore, I would say we are approaching the next step and the next level there. And the whole idea behind this one is to found like a platform which is open to everyone and to fight the piracy, as I said, in cooperation with everyone there.
But who can show ideas? You, in fact, Simon, how can we show them that this can be a benefit and it will increase their profit?
Yeah, I think part of the problem here is you need to understand the complexities of, when we talk about the business and the companies here, and the differences between these companies. A group such as the Bundesliga, as a global content owner and a rights holder, you can do things on social media, you can claim global ownership and enforce globally. You can have some effect, but you're distributing or you're providing content to a range of distributors, to a range of broadcasters, and there's only so much you can do to control what they do. You can mandate what they have to do. They have to make best efforts to protect their content, and you can set down all these security standards. But that's about as far as it goes with you guys. That's only so much. And then when the broadcasters get the content, and then they start monitoring for content, taking down content, enforcing against content. Again, there's only so much they can do because they're distributing through the operators themselves. And it's the operators right now who most often view tools and technologies to secure content as a cost.
Yeah.
It's a cost of carriage, and really we need those guys to start thinking, actually, this is preserving my business. I'm going to go bust, as a pay TV operator unless I get on top of this. It's a totally different mindset.
Holger wants to say.
Yeah, but that is definitely the reasoning why we found the approach of Athletia so interesting, because their idea is creating like an open platform there, like what is successful, like platform business and big data, and they just want to fit in like all the information we have, and it can be from our broadcasters. It's our own. It's the information we find. We are our own detection with our base signal, and then you have like the whole digital piracy chain from the source, like from the upstream providers, the hosting providers, the payment measurements, etc., etc. And the same offering you can attack then at whatever 7, 8 different points and repeatedly, and hopefully. We just started 2 months ago with them. Hopefully, we are more successful there. And that's what I'm saying. We are happy to invite like every digital data source there, and even if somebody wants to take some other measurements to take out the information we have.
I think as OTT matures and suffer from piracy, they will shift their perspective on anti-piracy. Yeah. It is not a cost, it is an investment. And it's a way to ensure the value of the rights for the rights owner, and it's a way to ensure your revenue if you're an OTT distributor. Keep in mind, a lot of these companies are loss-making, they're piling up debt. So if you think the CFO finds it funny that people access to the content for free, that is not true. None of them find it funny. It's just a question of shifting the focus and having an increased desire to solve the problem.
Let me touch here a very delicate but very important point that someone asked here, and I like this question. Is it disappointing when you see right holders like the Spanish Football Association working with countries like Saudi Arabia, where apparently piracy is so huge? Why football associations, why organizations work with countries where piracy is massive? Who wants to answer?
I would say, I'll take it. I'd say, the case of Saudi Arabia is very specific. Okay, the whole BOQ story in the region, that is a one-off. There has been a lot of articles about it. So I think we should punk that. That is not.
It is very specific, but companies are working with them.
Yeah, sure. But then I think rights owner, they are dual-sided, right? On the one hand, you want to monetize your rights. So if somebody is offering you money to go and sell your rights, you're going to sell your rights. And at the same time, it overspills
Some is offering money, but maybe that content will be pirated. So someone who's paying here a lot of money for those rights, then in Saudi Arabia is free to air, you will suffer. So I think the problem is not someone in their bedroom downloading illegal content. Big associations, content owners, they're the first ones that need to be watched with a microscope when they're making a deal. I don't know if this is very controversial, but I think things should start from the top. Why are we dealing, or why do you make business with companies where content is not protected, or there is evidence that it's easy to access that content for free?
Yeah, but it's a false idea to say they're doing nothing. Rights owners are mandating audits. They are sometimes removing content, by the way, it did happen, not a few years ago, some content from Premier League was removed from some broadcaster because they were leaking. So I think it's the false idea to say rights owner don't care.
They don't care, you think?
No, I think it's a false idea. They do care, and they do take action when they can, you know, and sometimes they can't.
Anyone from the Spanish Football Association who wants to comment? No, okay. So, a good question from Nacho as well. What do you think about the laws against piracy? Are they hard enough? Because probably if laws were really strong, people will be scared. And I'm not, again, speaking about the person in their bedroom, companies in general. Do we think laws around the country are strong enough to protect content?
Can I just say that actually, for us, yes, piracy is a huge issue and it's a priority, but you're living in a world where there's wider issues, right? And IP and copyright don't feature as high. So it can be difficult when you're trying to achieve things in the space when you don't have the legal sort of options to go and try and do more. Yes, there are definitely improvements that can be made. And we've seen some successful legal criminal cases in the UK, and we've seen some in other countries as well. It's not like that doesn't exist, but yes, it's harder in certain territories compared to others. And I think from an end consumer point of view, there isn't really a sort of a real feeling of jeopardy that something could happen to you as a consumer of a pirate service. But, you know, do we really want that to exist, or does that really change consumer behavior? Don't know. Okay.
Yes, Holger, please.
I mean, the legal situation is different, like from country to country. For example, in Germany, we would love to have the IP blocking situation from the UK. It would help us very much. So we are working on that one. There we are wishing for stronger laws then. But in general, if you saw the discussion about the copyright directive, I think it is rather about like the mindset, how to protect content there, and whether it is a crime like piracy and pirating content, or whether we are not going that far in protecting it. And there, I think that is the broader issue we have to discuss, not like a certain legislation there. And I agree, if you see it like in the total picture, probably it's not the biggest problem for politicians in every country at the moment. It should be on the agenda. So
okay.
I mean, the laws are maturing around things like social media, around content sharing platforms, to force them to actually take responsibility for the content on those platforms. But I think the laws that are in place to prosecute and punish identified restreamers, people who are actually stealing content, those laws are there. It's really, though, it just needs the combination of the content owners and the broadcasters and the operators to actually be willing to take action and send the message out. The only way we will get a cultural change is, well, not the only way, but there is a degree of fear required to actually enforce a cultural change. While everyone has the idea that everyone does it, so what's the problem? Nothing's going to change, and people are just going to continue to steal content, or consume content, rather.
And maybe it's more the speed of the law than the law itself. It takes too long.
And I think people, again, there is a similar question. People are a bit upset about, yes, technology is great, but the state, the governments are not doing enough. But I don't know how we can change that. Conferences, events like this, who can put pressure to change that, but it is a reality. Technology can be amazing, but if you are not forced to implement it, if people, whoever the people are not prosecuted, nothing will change. But let me, we spoke a lot about governments. Let's speak about streaming services. Today we have pay TV operators like Sky, very successful, but we have also lots of streaming services. Sometimes consumers, like in the UK, for football, for example, one of the most pirate content, they have to pay for Sky to watch some Premier League games, they pay for BT for some Champions League games, they were paying 11 when they were still active for La Liga. Do you think that sometimes consumers get an overdose of like, they're taking the piss here, I have to pay 5, 7 different companies to watch just football? So are companies being greedy, or we need also super aggregation in the sports world where pay TV makes friends with every single streaming service? This is impossible because they are the enemy. Tell me more about this and consumers, because we say it's all for the fans, but it's not really all for the fans. Fans don't like 7 different bills, 8 providers.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting sort of period for this industry, because we're all trying to deliver these super fans the content that they want and the way they want, when they want, but everyone's trying to do that directly to consumers, and so we're seeing lots of different direct-to-consumer products. We've also got the challenges around rights and where they're being bought, what territories they're available in, what we can do with them, where we can do it with them, and so this is all sort of culminating in a very difficult sort of space for consumers, and it always comes down to, I think, cost and accessibility. And there'll be people who want to really support an athlete or a team, and they can't access it in a legal way, and then they will pirate.
Yeah.
So you're finding these positions where you're going, well, if everything was perfect and you could pay, then you would pay. But if you can't, how do we satisfy those consumers? And that's a challenge. You know, you've got two elements. You've got to give the consumers what they want simply, easily, and then at a cost that they can pay. But then, in the same sort of token, you have to be looking at the pirate services and saying, well, they're a competitor. They're a direct competitor to you. What are you doing to challenge their service? What are you doing to degrade the quality of their service? How are you impacting that? Because if a consumer is paying them and they have got a great service, why would they leave, and why would they use anything that you offer? So you're sort of finding lots of different problems with this great sort of time where all this content's being created.
Yes, because again, going back to the UK, when 10-11 sports closed, La Liga was not available, people brought boxes from Spain. Are we calling these people criminals, or are they calling them people who want to watch their content and they don't find a legal way? But let's go to a positive message or ideas to fight piracy. Holger, Abigail, what combination of anti-piracy tools do you suggest right holders to employ?
Oh my God, we have 4 minutes left. I think that's going really
So you have 4
well.
minutes to tell everyone which tools they should implement, and they will all be buying these tools tomorrow.
No, I
What
mean,
are the tools you are using?
you want to start?
Well, we have obviously a very wide-ranging strategy, and there's lots of technical content protection measures that you can put in place end-to-end across your business and your service and your product. So at the end of the day, if you can see a stream online and you can identify where the source is and you have an ability to turn that off in real time, that's really important for sports. We've talked a lot about, you know, being able to watch and be part of the moment for sports, and that's what it is, right? And if you're taking down a stream 2 hours after the event, it's irrelevant, it doesn't make any difference, right? So if you're talking about disrupting piracy, you really need to be able to understand exactly where your content's going, who's restreaming it, and be able to turn it off. I mean, that's a really key element. So technical content protection is one element, but we have loads, and we only have 3 minutes, so...
Jorge, what are you using?
No, I completely agree. I mean, detecting, like, technically wise and using all kind of takedown measures and technical there, and as you said, like in real time, giving even the information to like law enforcement and take some legal measures so that you can switch down things during the 90 minutes, which is the most important for us, and have the information for the next match day so that you even can, in advance of the match day, inform like them about the illegal offerings there. But further than this, I mean, we have to go to social media platforms. We have to work like on the political side for the legislation, as we said. And we are doing education together with Sky, for example, in Germany as well, to tell the people, as you said in the beginning, do they know that it is illegal? Yes, they do. And what are they doing? They're harming the whole industry. So, yeah, it's a very complex setup of measures.
I'm sure you know a lot about tools to combat piracy.
I would add to what you guys were saying there, you know, highlighting that the tools are there, they're real, they're available now. This stuff isn't science project, you know, for 10 years' time. It looks quite clever in a lab. It's out in the field, it works, it makes a huge difference. And just encourage people, you know, operators, service providers, stop waiting for a magic cure that will fix 100% of all your problems. If piracy is costing you a large amount of money, and there are tools out there which will recover most of that revenue impact, get on, use what's available. It will make a difference. It will easily pay for itself.
Simon wants to, Holger, you want to reply?
Just one thing, I mean, very important is that it is a business. So the other thing we have to track is where the money is. So we have to work with the payment providers for illegal offerings to combat the situation. We have to work with the advertisement networks, and that's all we are doing. And as I said, that is the many different points, touch points, where can go forward. As you said, the technique is there right now. Now we have to use it.
And two things, I think technology is interesting. We shouldn't forget the human elements. Having proper operational security to know what's happening and leverage it is very important. And then we talked a lot about streaming security. We shouldn't forget about credential security, because sharing your login and password is also creating piracy. So there is a lot to be done there.
Fantastic. We have 1 minute left. So now is your opportunity to give a message to the world, to this audience, to the world, to pirates, to some naughty countries. What is your message? You have 30 seconds each.
Don't use single-use plastics, but also I think that it's really important if you to go take one thing away from today is that pirates are here to make money. They're making it through advertising. They're making it through directly from your consumers, and that they're a competitor. And we need to be doing more to tackle them if we want to make sure that the revenue and the money and everything is going back into this industry and helping us to create more content and satisfy more consumers.
I would add to this one, there's no competition between the sport organizers, the broadcasters in this field, so that's a field of cooperation because, yeah, I completely agree with you and we should work together on this one.
And you can make a difference now, so prioritize it, give it the priority it deserves, just get on and do it, don't put it off till next year.
And I would say we're just at the beginning of the fight. The existing solutions are first generation solutions. There is a lot more to be done in that space.